How are we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, and welcome back to another video. So I was playing around with Inscription a little bit more, simply because Inscription is such a popular profession at the beginning of any expansion, and I don't think Dragonflight is going to be any different here. And I wanted to see, well, what else does Inscription have? We've already taken a little bit of a look at Dark Moon cards. We've taken a little bit of a look at the fact that they're responsible for making some of the two-handed staves. Evokers are going to be very interested in these, for example. So is there anything else? Is there going to be something that's maybe a little bit long-lasting? Maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't want to, and maybe you don't even have the goal to maybe try and get into the Dark Moon game. The answer is yes. There's a little thing called fortune cards, which some of you that have played World of Warcraft for a long time will have stumbled across in a few expansions back. I think they had something to do with the garrisons. I can't remember the full ins and outs of them, if I'm honest. But there's these things: Blazing Fortune, Flourishing Fortune, and Serene Fortune. Regardless to which of these patterns you use, you make a Fated Fortune card. These are the items here. I made a few of them to showcase on stream today. You can flip these, and when you open these, you make a fortune card, and each one of these fortune cards has a vendor value to it. Some of them are 1 gold, some of them are 5 gold. If we open a few more, see if we can get lucky and get anything pretty juicy. We even got a recipe, the Fated Fortune cookie. This is a cooking recipe in Dragonflight as well. You open up a bunch of these, you flip them, and on very, very sporadic occasions, you get something juicy. Now, if I suspect what I've probably done with the thumbnail of this is I've probably showcased this one to you. The Fated Fortune card, 10,000 gold sell price for a single card. It's like scratch cards, right? You have a very, very small chance of winning what is practically the jackpot. But this is going to have some cool interaction with how Dragonflight works. And it's going to be a way to hoover up a bunch of the materials that aren't so in demand. One of the things I've been concerned about with the quality system in Dragonflight is that what's going to happen when everybody is able to make things at top quality? What's going to happen when everybody is able to gather the top quality materials? Is it just going to feel really strange? Is it going to kill off like quality 1 and quality 2 when everybody can get quality 3? And if everybody wants quality 3, then what's going to happen to the lower quality stuff? These fortune cards appear to be a good little way to hoover up some of the dregs, some of the stuff that people don't strictly want for their top-end gear crafting. It will hoover up a lot of those materials and make it so that, you know, new players stepping into gold making, new players leveling up an alt, leveling up a new profession. If you go out and you get some herbs and you've only got a basic herbalism character, that you'll still be able to pick up something, and it will be worth at least something to someone. Nothing should ever be completely 1 silver value, in my opinion anyway. There shouldn't be a callous hide situation, let's put it that way. So how do I mean then? What do I mean? How can we be using up the basic materials? Well, you'll notice the Fated Fortune card, when you craft these, there's no quality attached to these at all. You don't strictly need to be using top quality inks. If you're using just basic quality inks, which typical I haven't got any of, you could be using just quality 1 inks and you'll still make the same thing. That also then means if you can use basic inks, you don't need to be as skilled in making inks in the first place. If you're not necessarily needing top quality inks, then you can start using lesser quality pigments. You only need sort of basic quality pigments, basic vials to make those inks. And if you only need basic pigments, then you only need to be milling the basic herbs. You see how it all sort of, you know, filters back down to just being able to use the very, very basic, the very entry-level materials that people are going to be gathering. Firstly, in the early days of Dragonflight, but obviously towards the end, anybody playing catch-up, anybody leveling up a new profession, is only going to have access to the basic stuff to begin with, unless they're sourcing it off the auction house anyway. But switching it back round to these fortune cards a little bit more. These things, there are a few very, very high ticket ones. I showcased the Fated Fortune card. It's at this point I should probably showcase that Wowhead even seems to believe that in Dragonflight there's an even bigger one. I was not lucky enough to come across one of these. I've only flipped a small quantity of cards. But even Wowhead seems to have the impression that there's a 25,000 gold Fated Fortune card with the tagline, "You have reached it, you have peaked. It's all downhill from here." I wasn't able to find one, but I think it's quite cool that it could be a potential. Small little moment of opportunity for me to showcase my Dragonflight cheat sheet a little bit here. I was working on the milling page, the milling sheet for this, testing some milling. This is what led me towards these Fated Fortune cards with some testing. Milling seems really dumb level basic in Dragonflight, and I'm kind of wondering if they're going to do anything about it. The reality is that it doesn't matter what herb you mill. You get 0.7 pigments per herb that you mill, pretty much universally, whatever you're milling. So that one stage of Inscription is going to be very, very simple and very, very straightforward to work out. But then again, I guess we need one element of it to be simplistic, because there's going to be a few other factors that are going to go into milling this time around and go into Inscription generally. Two things to consider are going to be your multi-craft skill and your resourcefulness. Both of these are secondary stats that are coming in Dragonflight that are going to give you either a reduction in the amount of materials that you use. Resourcefulness, for example, right now I have a 12.2% chance to use fewer materials when crafting, and multi-craft sort of does the same thing but on the opposite side. Multi-craft will give you a 14.5% chance to craft additional items. Goblins who've been spending quite a bit of time on the beta have been trying to work out exactly how these stats work and how we get them and how do they balance and all this sort of stuff. I'm starting to believe that there's some diminishing returns curves on these, so it's going to be very, very tricky to work out exactly what's going on with them. But the point still stands is that they're there, and they're something that you as a crafter can work towards. Your profession gear, your 2 pieces of profession gear. This isn't strictly just about Inscription now. This is pretty general across all of the Shadowlands crafting. Your profession gear, you have 2 slots for profession gear. The stats on those are pretty fixed, but I get resourcefulness, inspiration, and multi-craft on my 2 here, so I get a little bit of all of the 3. Then it's your profession tool, to where you have a little bit more customization. I've attached a multi-craft tool here. You can get a multi-craft, you could get a resourcefulness, you could get, you know, it rolls differently. Something that you might need to, when buying your Scribe's Resplendent Quill, or if you're crafting it yourself, you might need to specify, I want it with this stat sort of thing. But these stats are going to stack on top of each other. If you look at milling, you get a bonus when milling. You get a resourcefulness bonus when milling. So the more resourcefulness you have, the less herbs you're going to consume. Multi-craft doesn't seem to work on milling in any way, shape or form. Multi-craft doesn't work everywhere. But resourcefulness is going to kick in here, reducing the amount of herbs that you consume when you mill. When you then take it to the next stage in terms of creating the inks, you have both aspects kicking in. You have resourcefulness, reducing your costs. You have multi-craft, hopefully, if you know, keep your fingers crossed, making you more inks every time you press the craft button. And interestingly, focusing a little bit on the, where have they gone? They've escaped me. Focusing a little bit on the fortune cards, both resourcefulness and multi-craft kicks in on the fortune cards as well. So there's 3 separate layers. These secondary crafting stats are going to come into play. All of this makes it very, very difficult to math out exactly what your crafting costs are. I've not done the full data on this. In my cheat sheet, what I have done, for those that have access to this, for reference, my cheat sheet is available as a thank you to my Patreons, my YouTube members, and anybody that's subbed over on Twitch. You can find a link to this in the Discord. But I did put some data in place for the fortune cards just to try and see what was going on. I flipped 1,000 of them, which I thought was a reasonable sample size. It took me a little while to do, but as you can see, I only got one of the 10,000 gold ones. So you can't really, you know, you shouldn't probably really rely on those when it comes to buying your inks and planning your costs around this. Off 1,000 cards, they vended for a little over 24,000 gold, but if you take away just these 4 cards alone, that takes that gold quantity in half. So realistically, you're looking probably 8 to 10 gold per card you get back once you flip them, and if you do this in enough quantity. But it's all starting to look quite interesting. I'm hoping that by the time that this goes live, I hope that this will allow people to have a way to gather some basic materials and still make a bit of gold. I think everybody should have a fair shot at making gold if you're going out. If you're dedicating time doing some gathering to sell those items to somebody else, it's nice to know that, you know, whatever your level of expertise is, that you should be able to at least have something to sell that people want. So I'll leave it there for today, boys and girls. If you do have access to the beta, please jump on, have a little bit of a test with Inscription, maybe craft up some of these cards, flip them yourselves. Let me know if anybody does actually manage to pull that 25,000 gold one. I'm intrigued to see if it even exists. But it took me a little while to craft all of these up and flip them just for testing anyway, so I might wait until the game goes live to do more testing. But give the video a like if you enjoyed it, boys and girls. Consider subscribing if you're new around here. And I'll catch you all next time. Peace.